This is a video on how to remove the carburetor off your lt80 or your Kawasaki kfx80, which is a very similar design. It's almost like a copy of the lt80, and this includes for all years and stuff, because most lt80s and kfx80s, all their parts for all years are interchangeable. That's what makes them really easy to work on and stuff. So you want to start by loosening up the fenders if you haven't already in the front, and removing this piece of rubber here. Next you want to slide back that little piece of metal there that holds on, clamps on the the oil line, and pop it off. Don't lose the clamp, and one thing you always want to remember to have this here, and not that you don't forget to hook it back on. Always stick it in that little hole there, so it's out of the way. After you remove that, you want to take a screwdriver, if there's a clamp on here or not. Take the clamp off and slide back the boot, the intake boot that goes to your air filter. Slide that back. Now there's kind of a glare in the camera, but there's nothing I can do about it really. They don't have 2 million lights to spend money on. And then just pull that out the back there like that. Next, you want to make sure your fuel is not on prime, and if your lt80 does have an off switch on there, set it to off. If not, it's fine, because it's a vacuum type petcock, so it pulls a vacuum from the carburetor, and the fuel won't leak out. You will get a little leaking out like there. That's it. If you're worried about your floor, just put like a rag or something underneath there. Also remove the vacuum line. Now, as you can see, I have all the clamps off and stuff. Honestly, you should have clamps on. I didn't, but oh well. It really won't hurt nothing. And don't forget to bullet pop this one off here too. Just set that aside there. Next, you want a 5/16 wrench, and I have this one specially designed for this carburetor. It's an old set wrenches that I had that some of them were stripped out and stuff, and the 5/16 was good, so I ground out the edge there. It's a bench grinder, and as you can see, it'll fit right in between that carburetor well, because the carburetors, especially if the carburetor has never been taken off before, you won't be able to unscrew with a screwdriver like that because it will be too tight, so you'll need to loosen that up with something like this. And as you can see, that wrench fits perfectly in between that little gapping there. Now that bolt does not need to get pulled out, it just needs to get loosened, because if you look here, there's a notch there, so that way you can just slip the carburetor right back in. But you will need to remove it after you get the carburetor out to pull out your this part here and replace the gasket. I pretty much just put new sealer on, so that way it wouldn't leak. But really, once you pull them off, the gaskets lose their seal. It's like a head gasket. After you pull the head off, you should replace the head gasket. And I always found this kind of hard, but if you can, get a screwdriver in between there, and there's a little hole right inside there for you to stick your screwdriver in. You can loosen it up, but even that's pretty close there, so that's why I told you guys to remove your fenders. You don't really need to, but you'll be sitting there for a while with the wrench. But that's pretty loose now, so we won't have to loosen it up anymore. And then next you take your wrench, you just unloosen that one there. And I can easily feel that you would have never been able to get that off with a regular screwdriver. Alright, next you take your screwdriver and screw it out of the way. It works a lot faster. Now this could have been done before, but then you want to remove the little slider valve inside there. And that's easy. All you got to do is remove that. Sometimes it may get a little tight, so you can use a vice grip or something to get around there. Pull it out, that little needle valve in there, the slider. Be careful, these, especially on an lt80, these needles are very, very fine, and it can bend very easy, and if you bend it, it probably won't run right. And got the carburetor out. Now it's probably, if it didn't run out of gas at the same time and you got gas in there, you want to take the gas, and I'll show you how to dispose of it. So I usually put my old oil and gas and any other substances that are pretty harmful into this barrel here. And usually after it gets full, I take it out. Well, you want to tip it over and let all the gas run out into this. Don't pour it on the ground because you can get in trouble for that, and also it's not good for it because also you can get that in your water and stuff, even though it takes a lot more, but it's still the law, so you don't want to mess around with that. And just keep it off you don't want it on your lawn and stuff. It'll kill your lawn and make your lawn look ugly, so just avoid the hassle and pour it into a barrel. And now we're ready to clean, do whatever we want with it. In this case, I'm actually going to swap some parts out in here because I'm having a hard time with it. I'm probably going to even put new reed valves in that engine. So that's just what you do. And any questions, please feel free to ask, and rate, comment, and subscribe.